when my husband Mark and I finally bought our dream home in the quiet suburb of Willow Pines. We thought we'd found peace. It was a cozy 2-story house, wrapped in ivy and surrounded by maples that flamed orange every fall. The realtor had promised us a friendly, community-oriented neighborhood. What she didn't mention was that the homeowners association, the HOA, was ruled by a woman everyone whispered about. Karen Wilcox. Karen introduced herself the day we moved in, clipboard in hand, wearing a pastel sweater that screamed authority. "Welcome to Willow Pines," she said, flashing a tight-lipped smile. "I'm the HOA president. I like to make sure our community maintains standards." She emphasized that last word like it had capital letters. I smiled politely and thanked her, thinking nothing of it. Our first week went smoothly. We painted our mailbox navy blue, put out some solar garden lights, and let our golden retriever, Daisy, explore the fenced yard. Then, on Friday morning, a letter appeared taped to our door. HOA. Violation Notice Number 001, Unapproved Exterior Modifications. Apparently, the mailbox color wasn't on the approved palette. I laughed, thinking it was a misunderstanding. Mark suggested we attend the next HOA meeting to clear things up. The meeting was held in the community clubhouse, and Karen ran it like a courtroom judge. When our turn came, I explained the situation, showing her the receipt for the mailbox paint. She barely glanced at it. "Rules are rules," she said. "You'll need to repaint it beige within 10 days or face a fine." That's when I noticed the others in the room nodding. Some timidly, others avoiding eye contact. Karen's grip on this neighborhood was absolute. Things escalated quickly after that. The next week, she sent another notice, this time for non-compliant lawn length. Mark had just mowed it 2 days prior. We started to suspect she was watching our house. One evening, I caught her standing at the edge of our driveway, taking photos on her phone. When I stepped outside, she smiled sweetly and said, "Just documenting things for our records." That's when I knew we weren't just new homeowners. We were her next project. By month's end, we'd received 3 more citations. A decorative violation for Daisy's doghouse. A seasonal infraction for having string lights still up in March. And one cryptic note that simply read, "Your property may not meet HOA expectations." Mark wanted to fight back. I wanted peace. But Karen wasn't done yet. She was just getting started. And her next move would go far beyond mailbox colors and grass height. She wanted us gone. It began subtly, a war fought in the shadows of manicured lawns and passive-aggressive letters. After the mailbox incident, Karen started showing up unannounced, always with her clipboard. Routine inspections, she'd say, though they never seemed to happen at anyone else's house. One Saturday morning, we woke to find our trash bins mysteriously overturned. Garbage strewn across the street. 10 minutes later, Karen appeared, snapping photos. "I'm afraid that's another violation," she said. "Trash must be properly contained." I stared at her in disbelief. "We didn't do this." She shrugged. "Documentation doesn't lie." Mark stormed back inside, muttering under his breath. That afternoon, he installed a small security camera over the garage. It wasn't long before it caught something. Karen, dressed in her usual pastel sweater, sneaking onto our property at dawn to photograph the mailbox again. We brought the footage to the next HOA meeting. The other board members, 3 retirees and a timid young woman named Jenna, shifted uncomfortably as we played it. Karen's face flushed red. "That doesn't prove anything," she said sharply. "Editing software exists." When Mark threatened to contact a lawyer, Karen ended the meeting abruptly. But she didn't back down. Instead, she doubled her efforts. Over the next 2 weeks, she issued new fines, one for having an unsightly vehicle, our perfectly normal SUV, Another 4, improper holiday decorations, a small wind chime. And one claiming Daisy's barking disturbed the peace. Then came the letter that chilled me. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Lawson, due to repeated violations and your unwillingness to comply with HOA regulations, the board will be reviewing the status of your property ownership. Eviction procedures may be considered if noncompliance continues. Eviction. From our own house. I was shaking. Mark contacted the county office. And they confirmed what we suspected: the HOA had no legal right to evict us. But Karen didn't care about legality, she thrived on intimidation. Soon, neighbors started avoiding us. When I waved at the couple next door, they quickly looked away. Karen had spread rumors that we were problem homeowners. That's when Jenna, the quiet board member, knocked on our door one evening. I think you should know, she whispered, Karen's planning something. She told the board she's filing a motion to revoke your membership privileges. She wants to ban you from using the clubhouse and even the pool. Mark clenched his fists. That's it, he said. She's not just harassing us, she's trying to push us out. I nodded, my heart pounding. The war was no longer petty. Karen had crossed a line. And we were about to fight back. Mark and I spent the next week gathering evidence. Every letter, every fine, every grainy video clip, we documented it all. Jenna secretly helped, forwarding us copies of Karen's internal emails. In them, Karen openly mocked us, calling us the problem couple and vowing to reclaim the neighborhood. It was more than harassment, it was obsession. Mark found a local attorney, Mr. Hughes, who specialized in HOA disputes. After reviewing the documents, he whistled softly. She's operating way outside her authority, he said. If she's falsifying violations or threatening eviction, that's potential abuse of power and defamation. That gave us hope. We filed an official complaint with the state HOA regulatory board. Hughes also drafted a cease and desist letter addressed directly to Karen and the Willow Pines HOA. When Karen received it, she showed up on our porch that same evening, seething. You think you can scare me with lawyers? She hissed. This is my community. I built its reputation. Mark stood his ground. No, Karen, you built your ego around controlling people. Her face turned crimson. You'll regret this, she spat, storming away. The next morning, our mailbox was gone. Just gone. The post was sawed clean off. Another violation notice appeared in its place, taped to a stick in the ground. Missing mailbox, noncompliance continues. We turned the footage over to the police. They confirmed it showed Karen in the act. A vandalism charge was filed. That's when everything began to unravel. Neighbors, once silent, started whispering again, but this time, about her. People began to share their own stories. One man admitted she fined him for hanging a flag she didn't approve of. Another woman confessed Karen had threatened to tow her car for overnight parking, even though it was parked legally. At the next HOA meeting, the tension was electric. Mark and I presented everything: the photos, videos, letters, and police report. Karen tried to interrupt, but Jenna cut her off. You've abused your position long enough, she said firmly. When the board voted, it was unanimous. Karen was removed as HOA president. She stormed out of the clubhouse, shouting about conspiracies and ungrateful neighbors. The room exhaled collectively. For the first time since moving in, I felt relief. But Karen wasn't finished. 2 nights later, our doorbell rang at midnight. When I opened it, there was no one there, just a single sheet of paper on the doormat. In shaky handwriting, it read, "This isn't over. You don't belong here." My stomach dropped. The war wasn't over after all. After the threatening note, fear crept back into our lives. We installed extra cameras and motion lights, but every creak at night made me jump. Mark wanted to move, but I refused. She doesn't get to win, I said. Not after everything. A week later, our security cameras caught movement near the driveway again. Karen, wearing a dark coat this time, was planting something in our flower bed. Mark ran outside, but she sped off in her car before he could reach her. We called the police immediately. They arrived within minutes. And when the officers examined the flower bed, they found what she'd buried, a bag full of garbage and old HOA letters, including ones she'd forged to make it look like we were harassing her. That was the final piece the police needed. They charged her not just with vandalism, but with harassment and falsifying documents. The news spread fast. The entire neighborhood watched as officers escorted Karen from her home a few days later. It was surreal, seeing the woman who had tormented us for months finally face consequences. Some neighbors even came over to apologize for not speaking up sooner. Jenna, now acting HOA president, visited the next day. "We voted to void all your fines," she said warmly. "And we're revising the HOA bylaws. No one should ever have that much control again." It felt like a weight lifted from the entire community. For the first time, Willow Pines truly felt like the neighborhood we dreamed of, quiet, friendly, and free from tyranny. But the scars remained. Weeks later, I found myself hesitating before opening the mailbox, half expecting another letter. Daisy barked less, Mark smiled more, and life slowly returned to normal. Then, one crisp autumn morning, as I was sweeping the porch, a car slowed in front of our house. It wasn't anyone I recognized. The tinted window rolled down just a crack, and a familiar voice drifted out. "You can change the rules," Karen said softly. "But you can't change what this place is." Before I could respond, she drove off. Mark came out a moment later. "Who was that?" I stared down the street, heart pounding, watching the car disappear. "No one," I whispered. "Just a ghost from the HOA." We never saw her again after that. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch the faint sound of footsteps on the sidewalk, measured, deliberate, clipboard tapping faintly against the dark. And every time, I'd whisper to myself, "Not this time, Karen. Not ever again."